So today, in the wake of these latest attacks, I'm unveiling a 5-point plan to rid our subways of people who commit crimes and to protect all New Yorkers, whether you're a commuter or a transit worker. Point 1, I'm redeploying nearly 1,000 members of the New York State Police, MTA Police, and MTA National Guard to conduct bag checks in the city's busiest transit stations. So we'll be having 750 members of the New York National Guard, as well as another 250 personnel from state and MTA police. You'll start seeing them at the tables, making sure that weapons are not being brought in, working in concert with our New York State Police, as well as our NYPD. Basically, if you assault someone on the subways, you won't be on the subways. And a judge will now have the power to make sure that for at least 3 years, they'll have the ability to keep you off the subways. Point 3, we're strengthening the cooperation between the police who patrol the subways and the district attorneys who prosecute the crimes. This is something that came up at our meetings. The district attorneys need to know the full body of evidence that's out there with respect to these recidivists and repeat offenders, something that the mayor and I understand. Point 4 is about protecting our transit workers. If a camera had been positioned on Alton Scott's conductor cabin last Thursday, we probably would have already apprehended the person who slashed his neck. And I think that's an essential deterrent. If someone who's going to do harm to someone else knows that is being recorded, that there's cameras watching them, they might just think twice about it. But also, if they go forth with committing a crime, we'll have the evidence to make sure they don't do it again. Point 5 is we're expanding the joint MTA and New York City-run pilot program. It's called SCOUT. You may have heard of it. It stands for Subway Co-Response Outreach Team.
Good afternoon, gang. Okay, I know 3 o'clock-ish is a little weird for a time for me to putting out a video, but this one's a little important. If anybody's paying attention to what's going on in New York, okay, remember New York is the place where the World Trade Center, the old one, used to be. Now we have the new one. Yeah, it happens to be one of those areas where people that don't like the U.S. have a tendency to cause problems. We have a lot of those people in the country right now, in case you haven't noticed, okay? And I'm not only talking about Democrats. We've talked, and by we, I mean not only me on this channel, but I mean pretty much any sort of channel that covers prepping, politics, God knows what, okay, about the potential for martial law in the United States. Now I want to give you this. If you saw this already, good. If you haven't, I want you to pay attention. In New York City, the subway, okay, which is what the majority of the people use to get around, you know, those who can pay tens of thousands of dollars to have a parking spot or whatever it is and have a car, good for them, okay? Most people don't. You want to pay exorbitant cab fees, you do that. Most of the people travel via the subway. Yeah, it's not, the New York subway doesn't look anything like the subways in Russia, like Tucker pointed out maybe about a month ago. The New York City subway system normally employs about 1,000 transit police to protect the people taking the subway. If you've ever been on the New York subway, then I have. It's been a long time, but I've been there. Okay. It kind of reminds you of the Gotham City movies, or, you know, Gotham City and Batman. It's a little scary place, but you deal with it. Okay. Hopefully you go in groups. But New Yorkers, they get used to it. Okay. Well, crime in the New York City subways is up drastically. Okay. Up 35%, I think it was either 35 or 45% last month, or in January. We're in March now. Over January of 2023. You've seen the stories recently about a conductor being slashed, about people being pushed in front of trains. I mean, and we don't have to talk about all the robberies, the occasional rape that happens, and I'm not even talking about turnstile jumpers and that sort of stuff. Well, Kathy Hochul, and this is the first part about it, has now ordered 750 National Guardsmen and 250 state troopers, in addition to the 1,000 transit police that are already there, to start patrolling the New York subways. They're doubling the presence, if you will, of law enforcement on the subway systems. Now, crime is up. Kathy Hochul is the mayor, is the governor of New York. No question. Okay. But don't you find it a little odd, because I certainly do, that this wasn't Mayor Adams who said, I need to put more cops down there. Not that he has enough. New York is running a historic shortage in cops. So crime is going up, and after all the defunding the police, after the courts not doing anything to the criminals, just letting them loose, the state is now putting the National Guard, the military, okay, and state troopers down to, as they're putting it now, to conduct bag checks. Now let's think about this for a second. First off, the governor sure has to get involved to get the National Guard involved, or the state troopers in. I'll give you that. Okay. Do you honestly think, with the slash of a conductor, with the people thrown in front of the tracks, do you honestly think that the real reason that they are there is to look in people's bags to see if they're, I don't know, carrying a can of mace, or if maybe they have a knife? I mean, remember, good luck carrying any sort of gun in New York, okay? Practically impossible to get a permit to do so. So what are they actually looking for? What do they know that we don't? Again, think past the tip of your nose on this, the thing the Democrats can't do. You don't send in the National Guard to have them be TSA agents at the airport. Please take off your shoes and take off your belt and walk through this metal detector. That ain't what they're there for. That's the great story. What do they know is coming? Have they been tipped off with some valuable intelligence from somewhere that, I don't know, maybe this Iranian guy who the FBI was talking about in Miami 2 years ago, maybe he's got some friends in New York. Not like you don't ever have politicians in New York, right? Okay. What's going on? These are things to pay attention to. And the lies that were told about them. Oh, they're just going to be doing bag checks. Right. What are you, worried that I'm bringing a carton of cigarettes across borough lines or something like that? I mean, arrest me for smuggling or something? Who knows? But no, they're looking for something or somebody. You don't send 1,000 extra people in for this. You need to be careful everywhere you go. There's absolutely no question. But is this the culmination? Is this kind of what we've been talking about for the last couple of days of, let's ramp up the fear. Let's ramp up the fear. We'll start here. Oh, you know what? Now we need to have the National Guard on the highways or on the bridges, because the bridges could be dangerous. Are they looking for somebody, bag checking? You worried about somebody like a Tsarnaev brother bringing a pressure cooker on a train? That might happen. Okay. You know, you go back to 1993 in the World Trade Center. Okay. Like I said, the Tsarnaev brothers in Boston. You look at something like that. We're not talking about airplanes and buildings, but there's something else going on. And we all need to watch what's going on and think further ahead than they are exactly what's going on. Could this be the first step toward martial law? Hey, we'll do it in New York and people will just accept it. We've got an excuse. And then the next thing you know, it's on the Amtrak train between New York and DC or something like that. Or it's on the L in Chicago. And you can we'll just move it out a little further and a little further and a little further until we're back to the point where we talked about a couple of years ago, where you're driving down the road and it's not a DUI checkpoint, it's papers, please.